My name is Kendall Reeves, and the last time my sister tried to belittle me, she didn't even lower her voice. We were at a family dinner, the kind with overpriced candles, and the kind of wine you pretend to like, because everyone else pretends to. Harper looked perfect as always. Hair curled, lipstick, flawless engagement ring flashed at every angle possible. I was barely seated when she leaned in, her smile sugar-sweet and venom-soft. "Please don't talk about your little projects tonight," she whispered. "Lucas's family will be here soon, and we don't want you playing pretend entrepreneur again." Pretend. The word slipped out of her mouth like it belonged to me. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply reached for my water glass and held her gaze long enough for her smile to falter just for a second. Because if there was one thing Harper never understood about me, it was this. Silence doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it means control. As she drifted away to greet guests glowing under every spotlight she demanded, I sat back and watched the room. My parents praised her loudly, hovering around her like she was gravity itself. No one asked about my work. No one cared what I'd built. They never had. But tonight the timing was perfect. My phone buzzed beside my plate. A single notification. Turner, capital ownership transfer approved. 62%. Her company, my control. I turned off the screen before Harper noticed. She was too busy telling her future in-laws how her startup was about to explode. She had no idea the person who saved it, funded it, owned it, was sitting 6 feet away, letting her believe she was the star. For the first time in years, I smiled for real, because Harper was right about one thing. Tonight was going to change everything. She just didn't know who it was going to change for. Growing up, I learned early that some people are born for the spotlight, while others are expected to hold it steady for them. In our house, Harper was the sun, and we all orbited around her. My mother insisted she had natural leadership. My father echoed it. And me, I was the convenient contrast that made her shine brighter. When Harper got a B in high school, the whole family held a strategy meeting. When I got accepted into an advanced coding program, my mother said, "That's nice, dear," and went back to helping Harper prepare for a competition she never won. Back then, it didn't sting the way it should have. I liked building things quietly. But as we grew, the distance widened, and Harper made sure it stayed that way. She shaped an image of being smart and unstoppable, and my parents treated it like it reflected them too. The moment everything crystallized happened at Thanksgiving 3 years ago. Harper toasted her entrepreneurial courage, claiming she was the only one who pursued her dreams. Everyone applauded. Afterward, my father said to me, "You could learn from your sister. She takes risks. You just tinker." As if the software I built, the systems I automated, the contracts I completed meant nothing. That night, staring at a blank laptop screen, something shifted. Not anger or jealousy, but clarity. If they insisted on seeing me as small, the best revenge was to outgrow their imagination quietly, completely, so that by the time they noticed it was far too late. That was the beginning of everything. My company wasn't born from ambition or revenge. It came from a lifelong habit fixing things no one else could. While Harper practiced pitches in the mirror, I debugged code for fun. At 19, that curiosity became a solution, a data consolidation tool agencies desperately needed. I partnered with Valerie Kim, the first person who believed in the idea. She handled the public side pitching networking while I built in silence architecture iteration. Quiet growth. We launched small and let performance speak. It worked faster than expected. Mid-sized firms called, then large ones, then Fortune 500s. By 25, our B2B SaaS system generated more revenue than the neighborhood I grew up in. But Harper didn't know. My parents didn't know. I preferred it that way. Eli Turner, our financial advisor, was the only one who saw the whole picture. "You're the kind of founder VCs dream of," he said once, but the kind they never get to brag about. Perfect. Meanwhile, Harper launched her visionary fashion tech startup, outsourcing every technical decision. It looked good online, but behind the scenes the foundation was cracking over spending, poor hiring, a vanishing runway. Whispers began. Then came the turning point. Harper's company was weeks from collapse. She had one option left, a miracle investment, and she didn't know the miracle would come from me. During a family brunch, Harper announced her startup was in talks with major investors. My parents lit up. My mother said proudly, "Real capital always finds leaders." Harper smiled. Turner Capital is reviewing our pitch. My spoon froze. Turner Capital. Eli's firm. My connection. Harper had no idea the unnamed partner Eli mentioned in meetings was me. I stayed quiet. My mother didn't even glance my way. 3 days later, Harper called. Kendall, you know tech. Can you look at some documents? The first time she'd asked for my help in years. I opened the files and felt my stomach drop. Her burn rate was disastrous. Her user retention terrible. Her proprietary tech was a patchwork of third-party tools. She wasn't struggling. She was drowning. And still she said once Turner signs, everything will stabilize. But Turner didn't fund hope. They funded systems, and she didn't have one. That night, Eli called. Her startup is in terrible shape. If we step in, she survives. I know, I said. Do it. You'll be the majority shareholder. Yes. And she won't know. Not yet. The investment went through $120 million. A silent lifeline. My parents praised Harper endlessly. She bragged online about her brilliant deal-making, and I stayed quiet, because the sweetest revenge isn't striking back. It's waiting calmly, knowing the truth is already moving toward them. The first crack appeared during a late-night meeting between Harper's team and the investors. I wasn't invited, but Eli sent me the summary. Harper had presented projections so unrealistic they bordered on fantasy. When analysts asked for documentation, she stalled, then used the classic deflection. I'll have my team send that. She didn't have a technical team. She barely had a product. 2 days later, Harper called for an emergency family dinner, pretending everything was fine while looking frayed around the edges. My mother fluttered around her, adjusting her blazer, whispering praise. She barely noticed me. Harper cleared her throat. Lucas's family wants reassurance that Turner Capital will keep backing us. Will they? I asked. They just want clarity. On ownership. Decisions. Her voice shook barely, but for Harper that was seismic. Later that night, Eli sent me an encrypted file, ownership restructure request approved. Turner Capital, meaning me, now held 62% of Harper's company. A minute later, Harper texted, Harper, do you know why ownership percentages changed? I typed a truth I didn't send, because you built an empire out of smoke and I'm holding the extinguisher. Instead, I wrote, ask Turner. No response. The next morning, my mother called. We're having dinner with Lucas's parents. Be there. And Kendall, behave. This is important for Harper. I almost laughed. It was important, just not for the reason she thought. The restaurant was one of those dim, expensive places where menus didn't list prices. Lucas's parents watched Harper with polite skepticism. Harper launched into her pitch. Our tech is scaling beautifully. Turner Capital sees long-term growth, Lucas's father asked. Then why did Turner request an ownership restructure? Harper froze. My parents stiffened. She tried to recover. It's standard. Kendall wouldn't understand, she's not in business. My mother added, exactly. Kendall tries, but I set my fork down. Harper kept digging. She tinkers with little code projects. We don't want Lucas's family thinking she's some entrepreneur. My father said, she's never had Harper's drive. Lucas's mother looked at me with pity. Something in me aligned. I unlocked my phone and said, Eli, I need you on speaker. The table went silent. Kendall, Eli asked, please update everyone on Turner Capital's position. Of course. The majority stake now belongs to our largest limited partner. Harper straightened. And who is that? A pause. Kendall Reeves, Eli said. She owns 62% of the company. Everything froze. My mother dropped her fork. Lucas stared. Harper's mouth opened empty. I didn't gloat. I simply said, you were right, Harper. I don't pretend. Silence swallowed the table. Harper whispered, no, that's impossible. You can't run a company. I know enough to build one, I said, and enough to save yours. My father's voice trembled. You invested that much. My mother choked. Why hide this? Because you never cared to see. Lucas looked at Harper, horrified. You said you secured the investors. Harper shook her head. I didn't know. Turner never told me. I thought. She broke off. The truth had arrived. Lucas's father said stiffly. It seems we received selective information. My mother reached for me. Kendall, sweetheart, let's discuss this calmly. No, I said. You discussed me calmly for years. Dismissing me, ignoring me, erasing me. This is my turn. Harper's voice cracked. Are you going to destroy me? No, I said. You did that yourself. I just stopped shielding you from consequences. Lucas stood. I need time to rethink everything. He left. His parents followed. Harper collapsed, shaking not from regret, but from losing control of the narrative she'd built her whole life. My father whispered, Kendall. What happens now? I rose from my seat. What happens now, I said, is business. And in that moment they all understood. The quiet one had never been small. She was the storm they never saw coming. The moment Lucas and his parents stepped out, the restaurant seemed to shrink around us. The lighting felt harsher, the clinking of distant cutlery too loud, every breath in the room heavy with the weight of what had just been exposed. Harper stared at the tablecloth as if the answer to everything was stitched into the fabric. My parents sat stiffly on either side of her, both looking as if someone had cut the floor out from under them. For the first time in my life, they weren't performing. They weren't pretending. They were simply lost. "Kendall," my father whispered, "this can't be real." "It's very real," I replied. My mother swallowed hard. "So you're the investor? The controlling partner?" I nodded once. Harper finally looked up, eyes red, voice trembling with something between fear and disbelief. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you never asked," I said. "You never cared who built what. You just wanted the story that made you look brightest." Her breath hitched. "I needed that investment, and I gave it to you," I said. "I didn't owe it to you, but I gave it anyway." The truth hung there, heavy and undeniable. Eli was still on speaker, quietly listening. When the silence stretched too long, he cleared his throat. "For the record," he said, voice crisp, "Kendall didn't just fund your company. She kept it from dissolving multiple times. Without her capital and technical oversight, the board would have shut you down months ago." My mother covered her mouth. My father had gone completely still. Harper let out a choking sound. "So, everything I built, you didn't build," I corrected gently. "You presented. I built. Valerie built. Our engineers built. You performed, Harper. And sometimes performance pays off, but not forever." She shook her head, tears falling now. "You took everything from me." "No," I said softly. "I took responsibility. Something you avoided the moment things stopped being glamorous." Eli's voice came through once more, final and unyielding. "Kendall, I'll begin the CEO transition paperwork first thing in the morning." Harper's breath broke. My parents stared at me, finally seeing the daughter they had underestimated for a lifetime. Not small, not weak, not pretend. Just powerful, and done hiding it. The next morning felt strangely bright. Not triumphant, not victorious. Just clear, like someone had washed the air and wiped the windows of a room I'd been living in for years without realizing how dim it was. Eli called at 8 a.m. sharp. "Transition paperwork is ready," he said. "When you sign, you officially become acting CEO." I expected a surge of adrenaline. Instead, a calm certainty settled in my chest. I'd spent years building systems and structure. Leading Harper's company wasn't a rise, it was a return to what I had already created quietly in the shadows. I arrived at the office in a simple blazer, jeans, and boots. No declaration. No spectacle. But the staff whispered the moment I walked in, "News spreads fast. When the person you ignored yesterday walks in holding the keys today." Valerie greeted me with a small smile. "About time," she said. Harper never understood half of what this place needed. "I'm not here to humiliate her," I replied. "I know," she said gently. "That's exactly why you should lead." Harper showed up an hour later. Her mascara was smudged, her shoulders small, her voice frayed. "Kendall, what happens to me now? A younger version of me would have wanted her to hurt the way she made me hurt. But that girl was gone. Silence had taught me something stronger than revenge boundaries." "You stay," I said, "but not as CEO." Her eyes widened. "You're good at branding, at visibility, at community outreach. That's the role you'll take if you want it. No more pretending, no more titles you can't carry." Harper looked at me the way someone looks at a reflection they don't recognize, stunned, wounded, but realizing. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. "No," I said, "but you can grow into it." For the first time in our lives, she didn't argue. Later, as I stepped outside, the city breeze hit my face, warm and certain. I wasn't a shadow anymore. I wasn't the quiet sister clinging to the edges of someone else's spotlight. I had built my own, and I didn't need anyone to see it for it to shine.